Yeah, I miss sleeping.
I miss sleeping. Dude, that nap yesterday was. But here's the thing, right? As you get older, you wake up more often because your bladder gets weaker.
I heard that's the thing. I haven't had that challenge yet. I just wake up more often because of the baby.
So I wake up, and what I try to do is stop drinking any kind of liquids. I just drink water at home, any liquid around 4 or 5. But Monday or Tuesday, I went to a networking engagement, and I was drinking iced tea and water. And I got home around 10:30, and I went back. I crashed easy, but when I woke up because my body was full of fluid, and I had to take care of business, and then I can't go back to sleep. So now I have earphones and an iPad, and I watch like boring documentaries to get me to sleep because I have the tinnitus from being a mortar man, and I have old man insomnia, and it's never easy.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, man.
I mean, when was the last time you had a full 8 hours?
I don't know. And now the other problem is now that I have kids, this is still kind of newer to me. Although my son's gonna be 3 in March or April. When I'm not home, like I go do some army stuff, I don't sleep comfortable because I'm not home now. Where before that was never a problem. I'll sleep wherever. But I'm not home, so it's like it's weird. And so
You should be taking full advantage of that.
I should be, man. But like then I can't sleep right because I'm used to being woken up, and so I don't sleep through the night. I'm thinking like I don't know. It's just odd. It's a strange place to be for me, and it's awesome in its own way. However, I do miss sleep because yeah, sleep's good. Sleep's fun. I like sleep, and I want more of it in my life.
One day you should take your wife. What's her name?
Diana.
Diana. You should take Diana. Drop off the kids at the parents' house, whatever parent you have, and just go get a hotel room and sleep.
That sounds awesome, actually. That sounds like uh it's funny that you mentioned that because she got like this little dating game, like
Uh,
little card thing, like, oh, you scratch this and this is the date. I was like,
I want sleep.
yeah. Not only that, like, when are we gonna do these things? Like, when do you plan on,
I
like
know.
when these
With
two little kids, when do you think they'll let us do all this stuff? Anyways, but that's exactly what I told her. I was like, what's a fun date for me right now? Let's drop the kids off. Let's go get a hotel room and then sleep. That was so
yeah,
funny you said that.
that's kind of why I do this Carmel thing not every. I try to do it every Friday, but because you're in real estate, you get to make your own hours, and typically Friday mornings are really dead. So I take my dogs there, and I just go
Where?
walk up and down the beach to Carmel by the Sea.
Oh, nice.
And it's off leash for the dogs as long as they're in control, and I get grounded, I get relaxed, and it's my time, right? I totally just enjoy it. It's yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's the one thing. But my kids are older; they don't need me anymore, unless they need me to take them to gymnastics or wherever.
Mhm.
But like two of them drive. Well, one's out of the house, the other one drives, and then the other one just got her permit. So now we're spending time, and I should be enjoying it because it's the last one of my life that I get to do is teach them how to drive. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, one of the last things you do as a parent is teaching your child how to drive, and then you're pretty much on the mentor mentee stage, not the parenting stage. So you can't paddle their ass or ground them or anything because it's just kind of useless. You can threaten them with their lives.
With their lives, yes. I brought you in.
I'll kill you. I'll take you
I'll
out.
take you out. Yeah, all things to look forward to, I suppose.
Yeah. So, how often do you call it drill? Is that what you call it when you go to the army?
So about 10 years ago, I don't know. I mean, it's probably more than that. Somebody somewhere. The simple answer to the question is yes. When I first joined the reserve, it was drill. It was drill for the longest, and then at some point, somebody decided that that was no longer an appropriate term, and that was not what it's going to be called. From henceforward, it shall be called Battle Assembly. So it's no longer called. Of course, I can always tell like who's new, who's newer, and who's not because I'll stay drilled. I just have a habit, like that's what I know it as. And the youngster will call it battle or BA. BA battle assembly.
Badass, bad attitude.
Battle assembly. We will assemble for battle. Anyways, yeah, it's typically once a month. Sometimes it's a little longer. I was just up there for I was right down the street from you from November 28th to the 2nd, I think it was. Something like that.
Oh
yeah? Yeah. But I was actually there a couple days longer. I had to see some folks there in town.
What do you? Where is it on Heading? Is it that?
No, it's over there, Mountain View. It's actually Mountain.
Oh.
It's not right down the street from you, but
Okay. I was just in Mountain View a couple days ago.
Yeah. Speaking of Mountain View, so I got something. It's really lines up with what you wanted to talk about too on the housing stuff.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me bring this up. So
yeah. So folks at home, if the reason why you're on is because we're talking about this legislation that's being pushed through.
Well,
I know. Go ahead.
Talk about the legislation. Let's go there first.
Yeah. So what they're doing right now is trying to get the hedge funds who buy real estate, single family homes, to not buy single family homes because it's taking away from home buyers, from the real reason why we have homes, right? The single family home is the American dream. People want to buy a house, live in it, pay it off, raise their children in it, make memories, have some financial stability, and hedge funds are coming in and buying swaths of it at a time. Now, they're not doing it across the nation. They're doing it in certain metropolitan areas like Phoenix and, I don't know, Albuquerque and wherever. And they say that it's only 3% of the houses that are owned right now, but that's still pretty large. When you think about it.
That's a huge amount. I mean, to say only 3% is crazy. Like as if that's like nothing.
Well, that's the homes that are available. So let's just say that there's 30 million, say 35 million homes in America. That's 3% of that. But only a few homes become for sale or come up for sale every year.
Right.
And what typically happens is you put it up on market and then you wait for the offers to come in. And typically these hedge funds have billions of dollars, so they don't care if they overpay for it, and they'll overpay for it. Like, for example, I just sold Inman a couple days ago. Yesterday we went into contract. 2 days ago we went into contract, listed it at 1.7. This thing under 800 or under 1,000 square feet. So I want to say like 983 from my memory, 983 square feet. Everything needs to be replaced. Just old single. So one car garage that was converted. It has a bonus room in the back that they converted from a screen room into a living room. Just not the best house. Listed at 700, expecting 750. I had 13 offers and sold it for $835,000.
Wow.
And it went to a mom and pop investor. I can tell you that right now. I know that, we're a family. I'm like, nah, you're full of crap. Because when you see houses, when you see all the offers come through, all 13 of them come through, and they're all popping in around 7 to 770, 780, and then all of a sudden there's one that's just above and beyond. I mean,
yeah.
So, and obviously I negotiated it up a bit, but that's my job to do that.
Sure.
But I think it was a mom and pop investor. And I saw a graph a couple of days ago, and I was trying to look for it real quick before you popped on. But there's only like 3% of the investors that are out there that are actually institutional, or at least that are categorized that way. And then like 75 or 80% of them are mom and pop, which means they own 1 to 10 units. And that's now the American dream, right? You want to be able to buy your house, fix it up, buy another house, move into that, rent this other one out, have somebody else pay off your mortgage. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, but I don't think that's the problem. I think the real problem is legislation should not be pushed. Well, I mean, it should be about curtailing hedge funds from buying property. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
there's a lot to unpack there. I think, well, first, just kind of going back to where we first started the conversation. So,
Sleep.
yeah, well, investing in or real estate investing for a lot of people has been out of, or it's not really easy for them to do. They don't have, how do I want to say this?
Hundreds of
Real,
thousands of dollars.
yeah, they don't have the hundred thousands of dollars. So on one hand, there is a problem that something like a real estate investment trust, provides a solution to, where a mom and pop investor, a retiree, or somebody saving for retirement can participate in real estate investing without that risk of directly owning, or without the capital they might need to do so, by putting some money aside into a real estate investment trust. And there's all kinds of different kinds of real estate investment trusts, from commercial to industrial to office space specific to data center. I mean, it goes on and on how diversified and how specific you can get into when it comes to these different types of real estate investment trusts. Um, However, I think what's changed over the last 10 to 15 years, and you can kind of track this with the rise of, I'd say, internet and social media, and how easier it is for people to access information, right? I think that's probably one of the reasons why you've seen a rise in more people buying multiple homes to try to get to those 10 homes. I think 10 is a number you can max at for a certain type of loan, right? After you have 10 of these, 10 of certain loans, you have to get something different. Kind of getting off the subject a little bit, but I think that's a thing. I'm not sure, that's more your lane than mine.
Yeah, that's something we can ask Scott, but I think you have to go to more of a commercial loan.
Right. I think you can only get, once you get to 10, if you have 10, I think it's 9 or 10 loans, and then your financing starts to look different. Anyways, but I think that's a very clear. You can track that, I should say. I think the rise of those types of mom and pop investors with the rise in, podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff, right? Just people get more information, and generally, we've gotten wealthier as a nation. At least a certain class of people has. So people have been doing that. And then you have this other part where large institutions like BlackRock, Vanguard, BlackRock being a big player here, where they're creating funds that that's hoovering up, large amounts of single family residences, just like you pointed out. And there's nothing like, those funds don't usually get smaller, right? They grow, right? So you have these institutional funds that are out seeking ways to grow and create return. And so, yeah, just like you said, they come in over the top with cash, and of course, like, who's going to say no to a higher offer? And so they're buying up homes like
Yep,
crazy.
absolutely. But there's a
Yeah,
danger into that. We talked about
danger.
it yesterday, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I had not thought that far into it. Frankly, I thought that was an amazing point. For me, what I thought the major problem was the affordability here. Like, wow, this is creating. This is. It may not be the only reason. However, I'm sure there's other factors we can talk about when it comes to creating affordability problem when it comes to buying a home. However, this is certainly, to me, part of the problem, right? Having large institutions like a BlackRock, like a Vanguard, or whoever, coming in and buying, just outright buying whole communities in some places. I think this happened in Florida. I was reading an article about this.
Yeah, there was a place where there was a new home development, and they stopped selling houses because the market
Right.
turned. This was last year, and BlackRock came in and sucked them
Swooped
all
up.
up. And
such
it's not
more.
just BlackRock, right? And we can't
No,
say
it's
it's
not.
just, yeah,
It's not. It's an
multiple
industry
times.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it was like, okay, this is creating an affordability problem. Of course, okay, we're turning, it's long been part of the national lore, buying buying the home, part of the American dream, owning real estate. And then this is a challenge though, because if we just scale this out and move forward, like where does this go? Where does this end? And it's going to create problems for people to be able to buy homes. It's just there's a lot of problems there.
But, I
However, you
mean,
brought a great point, and if you want to go into that,
yeah, it's and it happens to big corporations too. Like I can remember watching Hewlett Packard grow up so large by not just by creating new products, because Hewlett Packard started off in the test industry, right? And then they went into the computer industry, and then they went into the printers, and then they did this, and then they did that. And
yeah,
by and large, what they did is they started growing so excessively large that their stockholders were demanding better returns every year. So what they would do is they would start buying other companies,
right,
right? They had the money, they had the extra liquid assets, and they transferred over, and they would buy printer companies and their competitors, and they squashed everything. And then it got so big that they had to split up. So Hewlett Packard, the original name, just did computers and printers and the other ancillary products that fell in line with that. And then they scooted their test. The original product that they sold was test and measurement. They scooted it over to a company called Agilent, which is fantastic. But then they started having growing pains because the market turned. Just like every industry, it's cyclical. You can be in the chip business, you can be in the aerospace business, you can be in the housing business, you can be in the automotive business. It's all cyclical. And when you're in a growth pattern and you have to grow and you have to grow and you have to grow, and the market turns on you, your stocks are going to shrink because you're going to not fulfill the requirements that your stock and stakeholders demand,
yeah,
increased value of your stocks, right?
right,
So what happens? Your stock becomes lower and people start losing money. And that was the dot-com thing in the early 2000s. And in a way is the same thing that happened in 2008, except for that was just unethical, completely illegal, but it was swept under the rug. But what we're seeing today, and it's illegal. And if you look through the newscasts right now, there's a few people talking about it. This is a Ponzi scheme. And people are buying into this, expecting heavy returns. They're like, oh, I'll just put my $100,000 retirement into BlackRock because they're going to buy this stuff and it's going to continue to go up. And if and when the market collapses, because we don't know if it's going to, right? You don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball, but things are cyclical.
things are
What happens if
cyclical.
they put it in there? They're betting this thing's going to turn it. Their $100,000 investment is going to turn into a couple $1,000,000 over a couple of years, and all of a sudden it's worth $25,000.
Yeah,
It kind of screws people over. It's the same thing that happened in 2008.
totally. And not only that, just doubling down on what you're talking about here. How wise is it to have such an important asset like real estate, particularly single family homes, which is just core kind of the social fabric, right, of our communities and country, if you
Yep.
will, for families to be able to afford that. I don't know how wise that is for so much that to get concentrated in big institutions who are beholden to shareholders. Companies beholden to shareholders have a track record of making decisions and choices, just like you said, to try to honor, right, their commitment to those shareholders and to make sure that share price is still rising, which leads to
That's their job. That's the
to
whole
right.
reason for being, right?
Yeah, it can lead to some ethical dilemmas where they make decisions which ultimately blow up, right, and cause huge problems. So
Yep.
yeah. Now there's a counter argument there that some folks have made that, well, they would point out that these institutions are providing value on one end to investors who otherwise couldn't buy real estate. We already talked about that. Also, they are purchasing homes and making sure that they are kept upright, you won't have a problem with a landlord who isn't, I guess what's the term? I don't know, deadbeat landlord, I guess, for lack of a better term. So they'll
That's
be
a term
that's
for sure.
so and there's that argument. There's also an argument out there that said this is more about the challenge with not enough new homes being built, and therefore, if these institutions can keep doing this, it gives a signal demand to builders so that they will build more homes, which will therefore increase affordability. So I don't know if I buy into all that. I can definitely see how some of that could be true. However, all things being equal or not equal, either way, I still think, uh, given the choice, I would not want to have large institutions using so much of their
Power.
investors' money
Yeah.
to buy so many single family homes. It's just it's kind of getting a little out of hand, is all I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you're
In my
losing, you're going to lose the personal touch, right? There's no
right.
concierge service. There's no person you're going to talk to. I can't remember the name of the company, but they're all across the United States. And maybe I sent it to you on text. So I'll go dig it through while you talk next. But their whole purpose is to buy it and rent it out to you, which is horrible. If you're going to be a renter, rent an apartment, rent a townhouse or whatever. I get it. But the homes should be maintained, and they should be owned by human beings, not corporations.
Which, and there's a dilemma here. I think it's what segued into the legislation you were talking about. Like, there's a dilemma here on, in my opinion, on, like, we're a capitalist economy, right? That's the system we have.
Yeah.
And so, how do you balance that out when it comes to what a corporation can or cannot do in a marketplace? So I can see there'd be some challenges there. And that's why I'd be surprised if this legislation pushes through. I think it's great headline. It's a great effort. I wonder how much of it has to do, and just reading from what I was able to read about it, how much of it has to do with certain members of either House or Congress who want to, or Congress will say, um, by putting forth legislation they know won't pass, they can say they put effort in, right? And so it looks good for them. However, it achieves nothing. So
And that's exactly what this Housing Wire, I can share it with you real quick. This Housing Wire article, it says likelihood of passage is low, right? I mean, no matter how hard we try, capitalism is going to win over. And whether you're a capitalist or a communist or whichever mark, I don't care. This is a capitalist society. That's how it's run. That's the engine that runs this country. There's going to be, what are not the pork barrelers, the guys that are in Congress that pay off the Congress, lobbyists. They're going to have lobbyists lobby against this because it's not in their best interests of their stockholders, right? I get it. I mean, so they're probably doing this to get a few people to talk about it. And I'm neither Democrat or Republican. I see this as a valuable tool for us to at least realize that maybe this is not the smartest thing for people to do, or for corporations to do as an investment vehicle, because there's so many different things. You could buy airports, you could buy airplanes, you can buy storage. There's a huge industry in storage, right? Why pick on the single family house?
Yeah.
Buy apartments.
And there's definitely reach for all that stuff. And I'm not saying that these corporations should have the ability should be barred from being able to do this. I just think the scale is ridiculous, and it's not going to get smaller. It's going to keep growing. And you're talking about international investors now, so you have people from around the world investing here, right? Because of the safety and the deepness of our markets. And I just don't know how great it is to have whole communities in our communities. I'm sorry, whole communities in our country.
That's like a sleep.
Are owned by.
That's parent sleep for you right there.
Yeah, you ain't lying, man. That's for real right there. Last night was a good one. But anyways, owning such such important parts of what our country stands for. So yeah, I think it's a problem for sure.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I don't know.
so and who are the major owners of these stocks of these black hedge, black whatever, and Vanguards and
I mean, a
Open
lot of
Door?
it
They're
is
multi-billionaires, right?
that, but it's not just the head. It's not just hedge funds, though. It's not just like, although that's a big piece of it, but also a big piece of this is pension holders.
Hmm.
Pension state run pensions. These pensions, who are in dire need of return because of the commitments they have to pensioners. Right, they're constantly seeking ways to grow that pot of money, and so I keep saying BlackRock, but they deserve to be mentioned because of how big they are and how much influence they have in these things. And when they target something and they pour, you know,
Billions.
of money into things, it's like a gravitational pull for these other companies to do the same, if you will. And then, but they have so much money and so much leverage, just like they kind of push out even smaller players. So, yeah. So
Right.
I don't have actually a problem keep saying their name, but anyways,
But every time we say it, we go up in SEO rankings, so that's good.
yeah.
We like that. BlackRock, hedge
I
fund,
see the cease and desist order from
Vanguard, Open Door.
yeah, yeah. No, they're up there too, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, there's hundreds of them out there, and
Yeah,
you look at the holdings, and a lot of them have certain funds that only focus on real estate, and some only focus on companies, and some only focus on financial instruments, what have you. I get it. It is what it is. That's more your bailiwick. I understand you have to spread load, but having a REIT or a cartel, is that what they're called? No, cartel, REIT that develops. This is basically a cartel of a Ponzi scheme, is what it is. It's an oligarchy of people that have swaths of power and money, buying up stuff, keeping it away from people that can't afford to live anywhere. People are having struggles living anywhere today because like, oh, I could just move from California to Arkansas. Well, if you move to Arkansas, your minimum wage isn't going to be $20 an hour anymore. It's going to be $7 an hour.
yeah,
Because it reflects the cost of living in a minimum way. And now, because of inflation, you're still paying more money for everything:
that's right.
gas, food, etc.,
I was gonna
diapers.
mention. I was gonna mention the other thing that came up for me, or it reminded me, that's a problem as well. And here, I'll share this here in this. Where is
Is
it?
that diapers?
Diapers are a problem, man. Because godly, you know what I need to buy? I need to buy shares in a diaper company. Because goodness gracious.
Yes.
Anyways,
Actually, I heard the U.S. population is shrinking now.
is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. I know where the average age is getting older, but no, I haven't seen that is
It's
shrinking.
it's getting older because your generation and lower are choosing not to have as many children.
That's right.
Right? We're 1.7 and you're like 1.5, and my kids' generation is going to be like 0.9. So we're going to have a lot less population, which is one of the arguments that builders are having. And if you go back into some of these articles that I shared, you'll see that it's a combination of things, right? There's lack of supply. There's lack of supply. There's the low rates that we had 2 years ago. There's people that are paying off their houses and choosing to stay there instead of going into retirement communities. But also, builders are just not building as much. We haven't built
Yeah,
as
that's a
many
problem.
houses as we needed to over the last 20 years compared to what our projected growth.
Yep.
So that's putting upward pressure on pricing, making everything less affordable.
No, that's right. I mean, that is definitely part of the problem. And like I said, that's what some of the people, the counter argument to those who are in favor of this of these of this investment strategy for these hedge funds and REITs to do so is because it applies pressure to the problem and it signals to home builders to keep building, right, or to build
Right.
more. So that's what they would say. The other thing I was going to bring up, and this is right in your neighborhood, is some of this article. What this article talks about is this phenomenon where a lot of these large tech companies, a few in particular, in this article they talk about Facebook and
Scroll up a bit. There you go.
Google and Tesla, that they're building their own communities.
Yep.
And this one they're talking about North Bay Shore master proposed development in Mountain View. So it's just an interesting thing in that we've seen this before. Where have we seen large, powerful U.S. companies build company towns for their workers? It's happened before, right? Ford
Detroit.
did it. The coal mining industry did it.
Yep.
And guess what? Those were all disasters. I'm not saying this is going to be like that. However, history does rhyme a little bit. Like, how much more power do you want to give your employer over you? Now they have your job. Now they have your house. Like,
Yep.
now you're renting from them too. Like, come on. Like, how crazy is that? And you tell me, Vito, if a development this size goes to one owner, essentially, what could that possibly do to the availability of homes everywhere else? It's got to go down, right? Like, how does this help the problem? It doesn't.
It helps. That's quote.
Oh, I think you dropped. Either I dropped off or you dropped off.
Can you not hear me?
Oh, there you go. Now I got you.
Yeah. So we're trying to do that for teachers. So because we're not willing to pay them the going rate to live here in Silicon Valley, we're trying to build houses for teachers. So I see this as it's okay, except for to what end? When does it going to? Because when you go to work for Google, they give you lunch, they give you dinner, they give you breakfast, they give you everything you need to live there. There's exercise, there's dry cleaning, it's basically they want you to live for the company.
Yeah. No.
So you become almost like an indentured servant there. I mean,
exactly.
A very well paid servant.
Yeah, it's not comparative to the coal mine towns of the turn of the century or anything like that. It's definitely a lot better than that for sure.
Yeah.
However, it's just to me, it's just an increasing, or the power differential between employer and employee in this situation, man, is huge. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, they definitely rope you in a little bit tighter, saying, hey, if you're going to work for us, we're going to make you work 12, 15-hour days.
That's right. Oh, and guess what? Now that since we own the house, no, you can't work from home because you're right down the street from next quarter. You're coming in, buddy.
Get in your Google Lime scooter and scoot your butt over to the office.
Right. Now, on one side, it's like, yeah, it's great. I guess, these communities will probably be kept very clean, very tight, very nice. Well, and everything will be kept up pretty well. However, if you're not one of these employees, you're not going to live in that community, are you? That community isn't open to you, is my guess, right? You're not allowed to live there.
I could see something like a Twilight Zone where this kind of combines with Stepford Wives, where all the wives stay at home and then they get kind of programmed from Elon's chip to be, the perfect wife, and they all have this little crux, and then there's this little commune.
Yeah.
And then things go awry. So who knows?
Yeah. So I think there's potential for that to get out of hand. And we'll see how that goes. I think Disney's also mentioned in there. So you think of any large corporation of that size, and they're all thinking about building and owning communities like this for their employees. So pretty wild, man. I trip out in that. And so if you're not some high-paid tech employee, I guess you'll be renting for life because all you have is a house from BlackRock that you can rent from.
I have Wayne, my buddy who bought the pool service business.
Yeah.
He's servicing a pool right now where a couple bought the house next door, the one with the pool issue, so they can move into it for a year while their other 12,000, 13,000 square foot house gets refurbished. So it's something like this. So the whole crux and value of what real estate allows you to do is build value to your estate, to your legacy plan, to living, not living. If you're a renter, which I know a lot of people are renters and they want to become homeowners because they understand it. One, you become economically locked into that house. I have a thumbs up. What the hell was that? Put my thumb away. One, you get economically locked into that house. We bought this house around $600,000. It's worth twice that now. But we had a certain payment. That payment didn't go up or down. Now in California, we have Proposition 13, where our property tax only goes up 2% max every year. Whereas if you lived in Nevada or Texas and your price doubles, your taxes double up until a certain point. Then you get something like a homestead rule in certain states. So we lived very comfortably after the first 5 years. After the first 5 years were a struggle, but then we got into a point where we started making more money. We got more leveled off on managing our money right, not living extravagantly, me being more disciplined with my money spend. And we got economically locked into that payment. When you rent, your rent goes up erroneously. Every year it goes up no matter what. 5% max every year in California, right?
That's right. Whereas in your, the fixed payment of your mortgage is, I mean, really it gets cheaper over time.
Right. Where like in a Googleplex where you buy or rent a house like that, they're going to rent the house. They might not increase the rent to you every year. There might be something you negotiate, but once you move out, that rent goes back up to market rate. So definitely it's a plus it's an added advantage to Google stockholders. It's a small advantage for the Google employee.
Yeah, and it also goes back to something you mentioned earlier about Hewlett Packard. I think is what you mentioned. Like, I don't know if Google's core business is real estate, right? I don't know if that's what they should really be focusing on. However, that's what they're doing. It's kind of like companies like this just can't help themselves but start to grow and get into different things. And it takes some kind of economic upheaval or a change in the market cycle for them to like, oh, we got to get back to what
Our
we're
core.
supposed to be focusing on. But
Right.
I don't know.
But I think that's the natural growth and progression of mega companies, right?
Yeah,
And you have to expand yourself to wherever the new trends are, where you can capitalize and maximize the value for your stakeholders and your stockholders. It's a common thing, right?
yeah,
And I when I did my business degree, I understood that. It just totally makes sense. As angry as you can be about it, is that every corporation is like that. When you
yeah.
become a mega corporation, that's the main purpose. It's not the product, it's not the customer service, it's not the employees, it's stakeholders and stockholders. That's the massive value.
That's right. That's right. And here's the other challenge to all of it is like you're either growing or you're dying,
Yep.
right? So there is no stability or in between. It's either growth or decline, and so that just goes right along with what you're saying. And
Yep. Then you either do that, or if you're in a great position, you buy back some of your stocks so that eventually you can put it back on the market when you can sell it for 3 times what you bought it back for.
yeah,
Right? There's all sorts of different ways. And then there's M&A, and people get compensated really well being in that department as well. And I get it. It's just there's companies that will succeed and be successful, and there's companies that will be pushed to the wayside. Like, IBM was from the 40s up to the 70s, 80s. IBM was a key player. It was a blue ribbon stock, right? They paid dividends. They were a very well established company, and then they kind of lost their way because they expanded so hard and so fast and so disparate, so spread out in different things that they lost their way. They didn't
well,
change with the times enough.
losing the way. I think that could be applied to a lot of things today, and we'll see. I think this is something we should check in on maybe 4 or 5 months from now, see like where's this all at now. I'm gonna start. I definitely will be tracking this a little bit closer as far as what these large institutional players are doing in this specific um, issue, because I just think it's a problem. It's a
I'm
huge.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. So, like this NAR lawsuit, like, okay, it's not affecting me. I'm still going to do business the way I always did it. And guess what? There's just another piece of paper you have to sign.
Yeah.
Okay, but you already had it. We just never really enforced it. But now it's like, if you want me to represent you, you have to sign this document. And that's just a rule. That's my rule. It's not a law. It's not my buyer, my broker's not requiring me to do it. I'm a broker, but I work under a broker. I choose to do this because it explains explicitly how I'm going to be compensated if I'm representing you as a buyer's agent. That's the whole lawsuit. If you want to dig into that, I really don't care to talk about that right now.
Yeah, we should save it. I think there's some important. I think what's the word I want to use? There's a lot of different. I'll even say misinformation out there about that lawsuit. I don't know if you want to get to today, but we should probably talk about that some other time, just so people understand, like, what it is exactly about and how it actually plays out and who it affects.
It affects the lawyer that gets $400 million out of that whole thing. And
Yeah.
it's FU money. And after you boil it down and talk about how much the rest of the plaintiffs get and divide it by 250,000 plaintiffs, you walk away with $4,000, about $4,000 plus or minus pre-tax. So yeah, great. I'm super happy for that lawyer. I mean, what are we going to say? It's a class action lawyer is going to make like a filthy amount of money, $400 million, $600 million. I don't know what it was. And it's the funny thing is, this whole lawsuit's about disclosing how much compensation an agent makes, but there's no disclosure as how much that lawyer's making.
That's wild. Wow.
I mean,
welcome to America, baby.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you're going to do that, then doctors have to disclose how much money they make, how much they're going to charge you up front. Oh, by the way, you have appendicitis, and because I'm a specialist and we have to do all this stuff, here's your quote of how much it's going to cost you, and this is how much I'm going to make out of it. That's what the lawsuit is about. Or like you're selling a car. How much is my salesman going to make? He's going to make, I don't know, 20% off the profit. I don't know, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But if we get sued for that, then everybody should have to disclose how much they make off of every deal.
Yeah.
Like you, how much money do you make? I can't ask you how much you make off of me because it's not a whole lot of money.
I mean, I
don't care. It's not
transparency is good. It's hard to argue against it. I don't know if they need a $400 million lawsuit though to do that, but I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, the DOJ tried to change something about 4 or 5 years ago on the same concept, and they walked away from it because they said, no, we don't have really an argument. And then this guy comes up and sues Missouri, something like $1.6 billion. And then they lose, and they're appealing. The NAR is appealing it, but it's going to go across the nation now. And
sure. Yeah.
What that meant to me is I had to go through extra hours of training on how to talk about it, how to handle it, how to prepare for it, and how to protect my clients, the good and bad about it. And it is what it is.
Are we staying on till is it Scott we're waiting on? Because there's two folks we're meeting today, right? Or what are we doing?
We have two Scotts.
There's two Scotts. I was getting a little confused there. Yeah.
Yeah. So folks at home, if you're listening still, probably not, but if you are listening, we have Scott Hill, one of my mortgage brokers, going to talk about loans, what the new rates mean, and probably barely touch a little bit on what the VA loan can do with multi units. And so with the VA loan, you can buy 1 to 4 unit property, right? Anything under the RESPA guidelines. There's a new little known, it's not new, it's been around a long time, but it's very little known. There's a VA loan where 2 veterans can get together and buy a 7-unit apartment, make one of them commercial, and then each of them live in a unit.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, nobody talks about it. And I just heard about it on TikTok, and I'm like, hey, we got to learn about this. Tell me everything you know. He's like, I don't know anything about it. Okay, let me do some research. And then Scott Wilson is a Monte Vista Matador. I went to Monte Vista. I met him at a class reunion. He's Army, so you guys are going to chum up pretty good.
Outstanding.
And he's a family lawyer, and he handles trusts. So the whole idea is, I have some friends. I have a lot of people that have parents that are aging, and they're going through processes of handling trusts and how to handle situations when you're trying to get help through Medicare, Medicaid, Medi-Cal, and get help through social work. And that's what we're going to be talking about later on.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude, this is stuff that's some really deep stuff, because, when you get older, you have to start preparing for it. And when you're 60 and you're planning on retiring at 65, you better have your plan completely set up. And it's important for you to know, Patrick, because there's certain ways to move money around and assets around so that it makes the person look broke in the eyes of Medicare, so that you get assistance. And I have friends that are going through that right now with their parents, and they're fairly wealthy. I mean, they're not like FU wealthy, but they're well off. But Medicare won't touch them right now because they have so much money. And she's at a point where we can't put her into a home just yet because Medicare isn't taking care of it yet. Yeah. And they didn't do the right steps to do this. So I think that's going to be an important discussion for a lot of people, including me, because, my mom just turned 80, and every elder person from every walk of life, rich or poor, should understand strategies on how to use, not abuse Medicare, Medi-Cal to their benefit.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would get totally behind that.
Yeah.
And I think people are underprepared for, generally speaking, underprepared for how long they'll potentially could live for and how much resources that might involve.
Yep.
Right. That's just, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that, because we're not really wired that way. And it's a kind of a new phenomenon. That's not something that was a problem, 100 years ago.
Phenomenon. Sorry. No, this is a modern problem.
Highbrow conversation over here at the financial intelligence.
Phenomenon. Sorry.
That's great.
It's the candy's kicking in. So I see it happening to everybody I know right now, because I'm a little bit older than you, just a little bit, but all of our parents are starting.
You are older though, just
a little bit.
Yeah.
Phenomenon. But it's going to happen. It's not if it happens, but count on it happening. If it doesn't, you are blessed and thank the Lord and the universe or whatever God you believe in, that it doesn't happen to you. But Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia are taking over a majority of our elders, and we're not talking about it enough.
Right. We are living longer.
Yep.
And especially if you're middle to upper class, you have some means, you have some resources. It means you've probably eaten a little better, taking care of yourself a little better. So you're getting to your 60s and 70s and pretty much intact. And so there's that probability that you'll make it to your 90s and to 100. It's getting higher and higher and higher. The challenge is people are living more feebly, though. They're living longer but sicker, right? So it's not lifespan and health span aren't the same thing, right? And so
quality of life, is that what you're talking about?
Well, there's your health span, meaning how long you're healthy and you can do stuff without support. You can still drive, you can still pick things up, you can still take care of yourself. That's not the same thing as lifespan, like how long you're actually alive for. Dr. Peter Attia. He has a podcast which some people can check out. He talks a lot about this stuff. He actually has a new book out on this very subject and how to increase your health span, not just your lifespan.
It's important, right?
Totally. I mean, who wants to be getting spoon fed and have their diaper changed, right? You want to stave off that stuff for as long as possible. Although some people may want that. I don't know. I just married a younger wife. That's how I covered that base. But
she's going to age you faster than you know. No, I mean, it's true, right? Because the more I talk about it, the more I'm not worried about it, the more I'm not even concerned about it, because I'm actively talking about it. I'm sharing my questions with you and my trust lawyer and insurance companies and everybody that I can, because the more I talk about it, the more educated I am about it. And I don't have all the answers. That's what this podcast is all about, so that we can learn to ask more questions. And the thing is there's no perfect answer, right?
That's right. And people got to keep in mind that, Medicare does not cover, assisted living or nursing home or things like that. That Medicare does not cover those things.
It does if you're worth less than $2,000.
No, well, I'm gonna push back you on that. What do you mean? Like, what do you think it covers?
So you can,
even if you're worth less than $2,000,
you can own a house, and then you can have a car, and then you can have $2,000 in your bank, and you can't have any other assets that the Medicare can touch. If you're worth less.
I'm sorry. Right. You got me. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you have Social Security coming in, that goes to counting your qualification score or whatever. And if you have retirement coming in from, say, PERS, CalPERS, or some other kind of non-401k or IRA type union or thing, that money comes in. That's active money for Medicare to take back, because it's going to cost them to provide for you. Right. So what that does is it takes away from your family's inheritance. It takes care of your well-being. It takes care of everything, but you're living like a pauper, because until you're worth $2,000 cash of all assets, then they're not going to help you. That's what's happening to my friend's mom right now. She has Parkinson's and dementia, and she's in a hospital right now. And I asked him to step up and talk about these woes, because he's encountering roadblocks that maybe somebody that's listening can help offer. Because, dude, I don't have these answers. I'm not a senior healthcare specialist or Social Security specialist, but all that money that comes in gets funneled right to Medicare. So what that does is it sucks out all the work that you've done, all the money that you've saved up over the years for retirement, because you have dementia now. You have to become a ward of the state. So all that money goes towards paying for long-term disability, rest home, or now nursing facilities, healthcare professionals. And once you're broke, then the state will take over.
No, and so you're talking about more like, I think that's more Medicaid, though, I think, right? I don't think I'm pretty sure Medicare does not cover long-term care. Like, if you got to get admitted somewhere and you need help because you can no longer take care of yourself past like 20, 30 days, like, I'm pretty sure they will not pay for that. But that must be a Medicaid thing. But anyways, maybe that's something Scott can speak to a little bit better.
Yeah, that's the long. I mean, it's the long-term care conundrum that we're faced to talk about right now, because, I mean, you have a few more years to work before you're retired, and then you're going to get old. And the last thing you want is for your children to have to take care of you.
Well, think about it, though. You just mentioned it earlier. I think you said you believe that the population is shrinking. I don't think it is, but I don't know. I haven't researched it, but I thought we were still getting enough immigration to keep pushing the total body count in the country higher. Although we're getting older still on average. The average age, I think, is getting closer.
I think it's birth rates that I was talking about, not immigration.
Say again.
I think it was birth rates, not immigration.
Oh yeah, birth rates for sure are going down, but total population is still increasing. However, you're getting the rise of couples who don't have kids, and so they will be wards of the state because if they don't have a plan, right? Because there's no kid there to do it. So yeah, I don't know.
I know it's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Imagine being high-powered dink, dual income, no children.
there you go. That is a thing. That's right. That's right.
It is,
That's
and
the
that's
ones who are
becoming,
renting from Google and
yeah.
Facebook.
And it's not just dual incomes either anymore. It's single parent people. People are choosing to stay single.
Yeah, yeah.
And I understand that, right? I mean, it's just part of life. It ebbs and flows, and right now people just choose to not deal with the insanity of living with another person. Sometimes your mind's like, what's he talking about? No, it's just something that it's just a thing. So I think we're going to see a fad of, if they start building, we're going to see 1 and 2 bedroom houses become more popular again, because having families is going out of style. Not on the whole, on a certain percentage. It's definitely a demographic now.
Yeah. And we'll
So
see. Things have a ways of turning around. You could very well see the newest generation arriving in America as babies will grow up wanting to have 5 kids again. We'll see what happens here. What did you want to do? Are we keeping recording until, or or what are we doing here?
yeah, we can keep recording. I think I have it set up so that when Scott say he's going to be on 3:30,
Yeah.
3:30. Let me text him and find out. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. So I'm curious what the lawyer might have some input. We should probably have somebody on who could specialize and speak exactly to this Medicare versus Medicaid in the state of California, because it's not the same in every state. I know it changes from state to state, but generally speaking, it's a lot of the implications are the same. Because my understanding is you're right, but however, if you show yourself as that poor to the state and they're going to provide services, I'm not sure what Medicaid will do for your care in home if you want to stay in home. I'm sure they will do something. However, if you need a facility and you want the state to pay for it, you're going to a state facility. I don't know if somebody would want that if they have the assets.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot of different chatters about having a family trust, and within that trust, you own an LLC that owns all the assets.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know. I mean,
Which
possibly.
I can see a lot how that can help a lot of things. However, if it comes down to the situation where you need to be in a facility and you want the state to pay for it because you want to shield your assets, you're going to a state facility. I don't know if you have the assets, you'd want to go to a state facility. You probably want to go to a private facility.
I'm not talking about billionaires and 100 millionaires. I'm talking about people that live comfortably.
Yeah, me too. I'm talking about those people too. I think with proper planning, you could choose your facility. And if you wait till you're 70, yeah, it's probably too late to plan for that.
That's why we're talking about it now. So I get
Right.
a little bit.